Welcome to the Revit Coordination and Collaboration video presentation. Work sharing is used for basically two reasons: large files that slow down your workstation, and for making project files accessible to multiple users. Teamwork is so important when working on an architectural project. The larger the project is, usually the larger the team. Coordinating the tasks of each team member has always been an important part of the project's success. In AutoCAD, we use reference files to reference files from one file to another. Using Revit work sharing, there's a central file that can be separated into different tasks for each person on the team. You check in and out different elements or groups of tasks based on the part of the project that you're working with, giving you full ownership of that part of the project that no one else will be able to work with until you give them permission to work with it, or you check it back in to the central file. To create a central file, save a file to the network folder, or one that everyone can access. Then pick work sets in the Collaborate tab to enable work sharing, which cannot be undone. Once the file is created as a central file, you can then save it as a local file. This is the central file, which Revit creates two default work sets: shared levels and grids, and work set 1. In the local file, I created another work set called interior walls, and that's why it says no, that you won't be able to edit it, because it's already checked out in one of the local files. Revit also creates work sets here at the bottom left for families, project standards, and views. Many projects are also separated by shell, interior, and furniture. The yes means that you are the owner of these elements, better coordination of the central file information. But constant coordination within the team will assure. If you put a check mark here, Revit will gray out all of the elements that are not part of your work set and will not affect the plotting quality. If a work set is open, it is visible, but if it's not open, then it won't be visible. This is the perfect way to turn on and off the different work sets. Everyone on the team needs to be aware of the rules of working with work sets to coordinate changes within the project. In a brand new Revit drawing, if you go to the site view, you'll see both the project and the survey base point. And if I select here the project base point and hold my left mouse button down and drag it away from the survey point, you'll see that there are actually two markers. One is the survey point and one is the base point. When it's clipped with this paper clip, the project base point is moving with the internal origin of Revit. If I select this paper clip so that it has a red line through it, then I could move the project base point away from the Revit origin. If I need to bring it back to the origin, I can select it, right click, and pick Move to Startup Location. It's recommended to keep the internal origin the same as the project base point, so I'll go ahead and select the paper clip so that it's clipped. Sometimes we do have a different project base point than the survey point, because the survey point is more of a survey marker that would come with the civil engineering drawings, and I've worked with projects where the project base point is the corner of an existing building or the intersection of a column grid. As long as everyone uses the same project base point, then everything will coordinate around that point. In the Annotate tab, we can pick spot coordinate or spot elevation. If I pick spot coordinate and I select this point and then pull my mouse away and pick another point, I can display the coordinates for the north, south, and east, west. Selecting these coordinates in properties, I can add a prefix or a suffix, which is really characters before or after. In the book, they're using a P for the project base point and an S for the survey base point. I can select the marker and then select the blue text and type in the coordinates, modifying the north-south and the east-west. If I had an exact point, the marker would shift and the numbers would update. And if I move this project base point back to the survey point, you'll see the 0, 0 for the project base point. Revit can import and link several CAD file types. The import CAD function is similar to inserting blocks in AutoCAD. You can insert or import a CAD detail and then explode it so that it becomes a permanent part of the current drawing that you're in. Or you can link a file similar to XREFs in AutoCAD where there's an actual link. If the drawing changes in the original drawing and is saved, you can, in Revit, reload that file. If you're working on a detail sheet, you'll want to go to the View tab and create a drafting view. And that's what I did here. Creating a drafting view, we can bring all of these details into different drafting views and then use them on our sheet. In the Insert tab, we'll be able to link files, import them directly into our drawing, and also insert images. Using VG, Visibility Graphic Overrides, in the Imported Categories tab, you'll see all of the different files that you've linked. At this point, you can decide on turning on and off these different layers. Since this detail has been imported or inserted like a block and exploded, all of these separate individual pieces are individual objects, but they've been converted to the Revit lines and detail lines. It is suggested that when you import CAD details or even link the CAD files that you consider taking out the text, hatch, and dimensions, because when you bring them into Revit, they may not be consistent with the standards that you've established in Revit. One last thing as an overview of working with linked or imported files is in the Manage tab under Manage Links. You'll have several links here. Those are the files that are linked to your Revit file. The status is if it's found or not found. When you link a CAD file to Revit, it's looking for that file in that specific spot. If someone deletes or moves the file, then the status may say not found. And that's why we have the save path. The path is where you've actually linked the file originally. To repath that file, maybe someone needed to move it to a different folder, you could pick reload from and then browse to where the file is really located now, that's new location, and then save those locations. You can also reload and unload your linked files. You'll want to reload your linked files to see if there are any changes that have been made while you're working in Revit. If there is more than one person working with a project, that person may be making changes and they're saving the file. you can reload it to see what those changes are. You can unload a linked file, taking it temporarily out of the drawing, but then reload it back into the drawing when you need it. So instead of removing it completely, you have a choice of that's similar to turning it on and off by unloading or reloading it. If at some point you decide that you want to break the link, you can highlight that linked file and pick import, and that will import it as if you used the import CAD function, bringing it into Revit and giving you the option of exploding it. We'll go to the View tab and create a drafting view. We'll go ahead and pick Drafting View, and then the name of that drafting view, Jam Detail at Masonry. And we'll create a scale that's custom, 1:1. Pick OK, and you'll see it in the project browser. We'll go to the Insert tab and go ahead and click Link CAD. Find the posted file called B2020A-01, and in this dialog box you'll be able to change the color. If the background of CAD is black, then you might want to invert the colors to make them read easily on a white background, or you can preserve your colors, or you can pick black and white like we will. Go ahead and pick black and white. You can import here all the layers, or you can be specific to which layers you're importing. You can also use auto detect for import units, or decide on which units to use. We're going to use positioning as auto center to center. Let's go ahead and pick open. We've imported this detail at 1:1 so that once we have it in our drawing, we can adjust the scale for that detail. So at the bottom left corner, we'll be able to change the scale to 1.5 inch equals 1 foot. Also in this detail, we have these tags that we might not want. You can either delete them in the AutoCAD file before you import them, or you can select the detail and then in the Import Instance panel, you can query those objects to see what layer they're on. So if I pick Query and then pick this tag, I'll be able to see that the layer is a wall IDEN. I'll be able to select the detail and then pick Delete Layers in that same panel. All of the layers will display here. I could put a check mark in a wall IDEN and then pick OK, and that layer will disappear. Another way of maintaining that layer would be to use the visibility graphics. If you type in VG, you'll be able to go to the Import Categories tab. As we said earlier in the video, I could just take the check mark out of a wall IDEN and pick Apply, and the tags will disappear. That way the tags won't appear in this detail. We'll go to the Sheets and right click and pick New Sheet. We're going to load in the Title Blocks folder the 8.5 by 11 vertical title block. We'll pick OK, and then drag and drop our Jam Detail at Masonry Detail into our 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. We'll go ahead and rename this sheet Typical Jam Detail and see that we've created a new sheet in the project browser. We created a Jam Detail based on a CAD link that we've brought into Revit, and then we created a sheet to bring that detail onto the sheet. Once you're developing all of these details, you may want to enhance your library of details by highlighting a view that has the detail in it. Right click and go to Save to New File. If you save it to a new file, that new file will be a Revit file similar to this one here and contain the detail and just that one view. When you're ready to insert it back into a Revit file, you can go to the Insert tab and use Insert from File, Insert Views from File.